On the topic of water, there is a poem by Langston Hughes called I've Known Rivers. I've known rivers. I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo and it lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I have known rivers, ancient, dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like rivers. When I was a child, my parents and teachers taught me about personal boundaries, which I still think in terms of my swimsuit area. Partly because it's on a trip to the pool that we learn about these boundaries. We change clothes in a room with naked people, probably with one of our parents. And we learn not to stare and point at others in their untanned vulnerability, including that one really old dude in every changing room who really wants to be seen. Ladies, I don't know if there's any equivalent, and I don't want to know. In modern times, we see notices in our changing rooms saying not to pretend to talk on your cell phone while taking sneaky pictures in the locker room. Wow, I'm really glad I grew up in the 80s. Then we're at the pool or beach and everyone is in this strange state between dressed and undressed. You're sort of in clothes as you step up to the water. But then as you wade or lower yourself in, there's that moment of yeep, when the water does its cold greeting and you know the water does not respect your boundaries. The water has known your nakedness. As children going for a swim, we were told to wait 40 minutes after lunch before getting in so that lunch would stay inside of our bodies. And we sometimes saw clever signs saying something like, our ool doesn't have any pee in it. But kids pee in the pool anyway. For children, it's a chance to experiment with prohibitions. Will something happen? Will the police show up? Nope. Except the person next to you might ask if the water just got warmer. And, not to get disgusting here, but when we actually think about it, we know that all of the water in the pool and the oceans is urine. Every drop has been drank and sprayed by whales and jellyfish, elephants, orangutans, cats and dogs, squirrels and people. All of the world's water has been urine at some point. And even His Imperial Majesty, the Pope, can't bless that away. Babies get baptized, and the water in the baptismal font has passed through bodies. Maybe Jesus, maybe Muhammad, maybe Mother Teresa, Sitting Bull, maybe Madonna, and a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'm not here to gross you out. All of the world's water has passed through bodies. But nature also cleans the water with evaporation into clouds. Also with those water treatment facilities that we call plants. Rain comes down, then passes through roots and accumulates in berries, coconuts, tomatoes, onions. Nature's way of purifying the water. I would not drink a cup of rainwater from my neighborhood. But when an apple grows on the tree in my front yard, I will eat it because I know that nature has cleaned and approved of that water. Ironically, the water in our baptismal fountains has been washed by forbidden fruit. Our bodies also process water. We are like power plants, factories. We constantly need clean water coming in. We constantly have wastewater coming out. Not just from our swimsuit areas, but from every inch of our bodies. Our parents and teachers taught us that our bodies are solid. Our skin is a boundary between what's inside us and what's outside us. But none of us here is made out of diamond. Everyone here, our skin is a bag for holding water, and the bag has millions of holes in it. Water is passing through my skin right now. You are breathing it. Water is passing through your skin. I am breathing it. We are exchanging water right now in this room. Also, I sometimes spit when I talk. Our parents and teachers taught us about boundaries, but in a biological sense, those boundaries do not exist. We are all continuous, connected by water. And not just people, all organic life. Plants and trees, fungi, bacteria, animals, Keith Richards, cockroaches, fish. That smelly guy you sat next to on the bus, who might have been Keith Richards, I don't know. The Ojibwa scholar and activist Melissa Nelson wrote, "We are not separate from the environment, we are the environment. With every bite of food we eat, every drop of water we drink, every breath of air we inhale, we are on the fluid edge. The fluid edge of inside and outside. Me and the environment, the person and the planet, the individual and humanity." Water respects no boundaries, especially the artificial and cultural ones that we make up for ourselves. We want to close ourselves off from nature, but it's inside of us. Even if we were wearing a spacesuit on the moon, nature would still be inside of us. Rivers don't care about our imaginary borders. And even if we built a wall against Mexico, and even if we built that wall out of pure, solid diamond, those rivers would still defy us by connecting us. We are all from and of water, the same water. There's an old funeral saying, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But our lives don't begin in dust and ashes. Human life begins in water. We all started as single-celled organisms in a primordial seed. And here I mean all life collectively, and also each of us individually at conception. The water in a pregnant mother's womb maintains that same salinity as the oceans at the beginning of life long ago, connecting us back to the very beginning of that journey. Each of us here was a single-celled organism that evolved into some kind of tadpole-looking creature, and then into some sort of frog-like thing, before we started to look primate, except with gills on our ears. And then labor begins with the breaking of water. I love that expression. It sounds so sacred, so sacramental. Water breaks. Of course, it didn't seem very sacramental when it happened. I was half ready to say, send the midwife home. We need an exorcist here. But the water breaks, A new life begins and two lives end. The social lives of two parents. And then straight away after birth, many of us were rushed off for a religious cleaning. Having spent 10 months in mother water, we get sprinkled in father-son water. I was baptized as an infant, held by a nun, who then ran off with a man because she realized she wanted to make a baby. I would like to think of that as the first time I caused a religious conversion. Then I went to seminary school and realized I don't actually believe in infant baptism. When Jackson, our firstborn, was a baby, I'll never forget it. Elizabeth and I visited a church, and this beautiful Episcopal priest, a lady priest, she beckoned me over to ask about something. I walked over, holding the baby, and while we were talking, she reached behind and dipped her fingers in the baptismal font and suddenly flicked it at him. And as a new parent, I instinctively shielded my child from this sudden motion. And then I realized that my shoulder was wet. She had tried to baptize my son like a JFK, grassy knoll baptism, and accidentally baptized me a second time. So I don't know, maybe that cancels my infant baptism out. Just as water knows no personal boundaries, water knows no spiritual boundaries. Water is the common element binding all of the world's religions. They are all related through water. The Christian baptism, which was copied from the Jewish mikvah ritual bath. The ritual washing before prayer in Islam. The sweat lodge of the Lakota. The Hindu wish to be sunk in the Ganges River after death. The sacred wells of the Celts. They used to celebrate times of peace by breaking their weapons and throwing them into wells of water. And then sometimes they would pray for health or luck or fortune by throwing coins to the water spirits. Wishing wells are a survival of that pagan tradition. And every semester I ask my college students, when you throw a penny into a well and you speak a wish, who are you talking to? If you're trying to reach the Christian God, shouldn't you be putting that into a box in a church? They don't know that at the wishing well, you are still giving a sacrifice, a coin, to the water spirit. My college students don't know that the wishing well connects them with their pagan European ancestors. Water freely flows through all belief systems, but belongs to none of them. In the Bible, water is there before in the beginning. If you read it closely, the book of Genesis does not say that God created the water. It was there before he showed up. Similarly, in the Quran, Allah creates all things from water, but does not create the water itself. Here in Western New York, the creation story begins with a world entirely submerged, covered in water. And a muskrat dives down to bring some dirt to the surface. The Mayan, Babylonian, Egyptian, Greek, and Roman creation stories all begin in a swampy chaos before the gods show up and start building. Water is that common element of all religions. But in the religions that I've studied, I have not found reports of any single religion taking credit for its creation. Water is creative. It can also be destructive. Glaciers of ice once tore their way through this land. It was water that carved the Grand Canyon. It happened very slowly in human time, but in geologic time, it was like a bulldozer on rocket fuel. Like Babe the Blue Ox hopped up on Red Bull, roaring through, digging canyons, and pushing up mountains. Now, nature gets angry and throws water at us, flash floods that sink whole towns, like the Carolinas right now. Water can be hurricanes, tidal waves. Someday water is going to eat California. Some of us here will cry 1,000 tears when it happens. Some of us will not. We'll have to airlift our movie stars to Wisconsin. I guess we're in for a lot more Thor movies after that. We used to get these brochures in the mail. You can buy a big chunk of the Florida coast, cheap. And I don't like Florida. It smells like death. But I couldn't help looking anyway. Where's the fine print? What's the scam? Then I realized it wasn't in the small print. It was in big letters right across the top. Land liquidation sale. Oh, so you're trying to sell pieces of land that will soon be under liquid. Water can be dangerous big, and water can be dangerous small. Given enough time, a little trickle of water can split a mountain in half. Water can drive you crazy. It's been used as a torture device for centuries. Dunking witches, Japanese drip torture, waterboarding, the ever-looming threat of snow. Water has suggestive power too, deep psychic powers of suggestion. Like if I say, imagine Niagara Falls. Envision all that water flowing, tons and tons of water crashing down. And now everybody feels like they have to go to the bathroom. I'll get to the ending of this soon. We're here today to celebrate our connection to water. What would we be without it? A little pile of dust and bone. And each of us has water sources that are sacred to us. Maybe just the bathroom sink, where you ritually begin and end your day by brushing your teeth. Maybe the shower, where you go to recharge your electricity and sing as if no one can hear you. Maybe a toilet. Maybe a kitchen faucet where you wash dishes and mumble about the injustices of the world. Maybe a river or lake where you like to walk and talk with yourself or someone else. Maybe an ocean where you get a sense of perspective. Water unifies us, and we are all part of it. Today, we will mingle our sacred waters in acknowledgement of that connection, that unity. Water connects us with all living things, past, present, and future. The water we carry today will be the life of the world tomorrow. Thank you.